12 things done in the United States which aren't done in other countries. Hello, Smart Leapers! Welcome to a new video with some interesting observations just for you. The United States of America is known throughout the world for many things, for being the self-proclaimed land of the free and the home of the brave, for being the sole superpower in the world, and for also contributing to international growth and technological development. What's more, American culture and way of life has also heavily impacted lives of people around the world. For some people, to some degree, it's almost as if they know all about American culture without ever setting foot in the USA. That said, since US culture is so visible throughout the world, it is easy to spot cultural differences between life in the US and life in other countries. And believe us, there are lots of quirky differences. Here are 12 things done in the United States which aren't done in other countries. Number 1. Taking coffee to go. Kicking off our list is actually a tradition which is surprisingly almost exclusively seen in the United States of America. We're talking about none other than drinking coffee on the go. Americans tend to order their coffees to go instead of having it right at the coffee shop. Granted, in recent times, this has come as less of a shock to other cultures, especially considering that now there are a slew of American coffee chains such as Starbucks, among others, which are cropping up all over the world. That said, taking your coffee to go is a practice which leaves Europeans and most other countries a little confused. Traditionally, in Europe and elsewhere, drinking coffee while having an enriching conversation with friends and family in a nice coffee shop seems to be the norm. While coffee shops are plentiful in the US, most people are too busy to enjoy a leisurely sip with friends and order their coffee to go. Number 2. Giving a thumbs up. Another thing Americans do that isn't typically done in other countries is giving a thumbs up. As you know, in the United States, as well as most Western countries, giving a thumbs up is an affirmative gesture which shows that you are in agreement with something. It's so commonplace in Western culture that all kinds of thumbs up emojis have been created for most messaging apps. However, this gesture isn't universal. In fact, it can have different connotations in different parts of the world. In countries like Greece, Australia, and some Middle Eastern states, giving a thumbs up is actually considered offensive, similar to giving someone the middle finger in the States. When in doubt, we recommend you use words instead of gestures in different parts of the world. Number 3. Opening gifts in front of the gift giver. Whether you admit it or not, we all love receiving gifts. It makes us feel good to know that we are loved by another and that that person values and appreciates us. Most of us can't wait to see what's in the gift box or wrapping paper. What isn't normal is opening the gift right in front of the person after receiving it. In American culture, we are more likely to want to jump right in and rip that paper off the gift box. After all, we want to personally thank the person for the effort and show them how much we appreciate the present, right? Well, this act of appreciation in the United States doesn't have the same effect in other countries. For example, in some African and Asian cultures, it is deemed rude to open a gift you just received. Number 4. Requiring personal space. In the United States of America, personal space is highly treasured and valued. Americans aren't very touchy-feely people. Most of them don't enjoy casual friends in their immediate space in social situations, much less a complete stranger. They feel uncomfortable and would prefer you keep your hands to yourself. That said, in other cultures, it's extremely normal for people to make a lot of physical contact in a social gathering. For example, in most South American countries such as Colombia and Venezuela, to hold your friend's hand or to touch your friend's shoulder when conversing forms part of their culture. Europeans greeting each other with kisses on the cheek is the norm. In the US, however, we shake hands. Most Americans would find the closeness of a kiss on the cheek as an invasion of their personal space. Number 5. Tipping everyone. In the US, leaving a tip for a waiter at a restaurant is expected. Actually, it's considered disrespectful not to tip a waiter at a restaurant, regardless of how mediocre or horrible you may feel the service may have been. However, this practice is hardly seen in the rest of the world. You see, in the United States, the base salary of employees in the service industry is much less in comparison to that of employees in the same industry in other countries. In the US, because servers make the bulk of their earnings from tips, you as a restaurant goer are almost obligated to tip whoever is serving you. In other countries, because servers make more money, it's not something which is inherently done. Number 6. Calling the USA America. Something which is definitely done in the United States, which isn't done in other parts of the world, is referring to the country as America. This is something which a lot of Americans do, probably because of habit or because they really don't know that it is offensive. For those who don't know, referring to yourself as American can be considered a political faux pas, especially in most South and Central American countries. This is because America refers to the entire continent and not a specific country. Think about this. Could Canadians call themselves Americans as well because they also occupy a portion of the continent? In Spanish, the word estadounidense is used to refer specifically to people from the United States, a word which does not exist in English. We recommend you are mindful of this as you interact with people from other cultures. Number 7. Putting ice in water or soda drinks. What is water without ice in the US? Having a cold glass of water with a few cubes of ice is a staple in the United States. Well, to be fair, ice is used in practically every drink in the States. They could be experiencing the worst winter storm imaginable, but rest assured, Americans will have a glass of ice water at their side. Well, it turns out adding ice to water isn't a common practice in other countries. Number 8. Accessing 24-hour restaurants. When you're in the States, it's normal to see restaurants that stay open all day, almost every day. We're talking about those fast food chains like Taco Bell and McDonald's, where closing times don't seem to exist, especially in New York City, which is known for being the city that never sleeps. To see 24-hour restaurants is something that's shocking for a lot of foreigners visiting the United States, because this isn't customary in most parts of the world. Number 9. Throwing baby showers. In the US, having a baby is a grand celebration for everyone. Americans get extremely excited by just the announcement that someone is having a baby. Consequently, baby showers are thrown as the baby nears its due date to help celebrate his or her expected birth. That said, this isn't commonplace in the rest of the world. As much as you might think that baby showers are the norm in the rest of the world, they're not. Actually, depending on where you go, it is considered bad luck to celebrate the birth of a child before he or she has been born. Number 10. Writing dates differently. As we know, the United States of America is a unique country. Americans like to differentiate themselves when it comes to doing things a bit differently from the rest of the world. Unsurprisingly, this extends to even the simplest of things, including writing the date. Here's the thing. Americans write dates in the following order: month, day, year. This format is different from most parts of the world, including even some in the Western Hemisphere. Typically, the format used across the globe is day, month, year. As to why the US opted to adopt this style of writing dates is unclear. Some have tried to come up with interesting theories to explain this. including claiming that it's the vestiges of a historical practice which somehow made its way to the contemporary culture of the States. Whatever the case may be, it can surely cause serious mix-ups for unsuspecting people from other cultures. Number 11. Requesting a to-go box after eating. Believe it or not, requesting a takeout container when you've finished eating your meal is not a thing in other countries, especially in Europe. In fact, if you were to request one in a restaurant in Europe, the server attending to you might be more shocked that you wanted one as opposed to the fact that you didn't finish your meal. We understand that instinctively for most people, it's never a good idea to allow food to go to waste. After all, waste not, want not, right? Well, in Europe, they tend to have a different take on things. For them, taking food to go is equivalent to a health hazard, as the chances of food poisoning are higher. That said, of all the European countries frowning upon this practice, France is a bit of an outlier. In fact, France recently instituted a law which mandates that restaurants are to provide customers with takeout at their request. Number 12. Voluntarily entering into debt in order to get a degree. Tuition costs in the United States are among some of the highest in the world. For public universities alone, students pay around $25,000, and private universities are even more expensive. Because of the exorbitant costs of education in the US, students tend to have to take on substantial student loans, which often end up saddling them with piles of debts. In other countries, students acquiring such massive debt is almost unheard of. The cost of tuition in other countries is significantly lower. In fact, some countries like Germany and France actually provide free tuition. Well, we've done it again. That's a wrap. Okay, tell us, Smart Leapers. What are some weird or interesting things Americans do that make the rest of the world say, "What the heck was that?" Answer in the comments, and you're always welcome to start a discussion about any of the topics we talk about in this channel, because discussions are what spark smart leaps. We'll be back with a new video soon. If you like this one, don't forget to press the like button and share the video, as well as subscribe to the channel and activate the notifications button so you're always updated whenever we post something new. There are countless more topics to come, and you don't want to miss them. Until then, have an amazing day, Smart Leapers!